life happens some days, right? So hopefully you're all on your lunch breaks and you got a chance to join this live. Do me a favor, no matter where you are in the world, I would really love to know. Comment down below right now and let me know what country you're from, what city you're from. And the other thing I'd love you to do is let me know if you're watching the replay or you're watching this live. So if you are watching the replay, just do #replay. Now, we're going to talk about love languages. So many of you reach out to me about this all the time. And we've been getting so many posts in the public Facebook group, the Powerful Parenting group, around, certain children's behaviors, whether that be tantrums in shopping centers that, the mother just can't stop, or whether it be a lot of back chatting going on, or, just a whole lot of discord in families. And so many of these issues link back to love languages. Sometimes people think they've got 10 different problems, but you don't. You have 1 or 2 problems that show up in 10 or 15 different areas. So I could cover so much on love languages. There's hours of this in my online program if you really want to do the deep work on this and really understand. I personally do not believe that love languages in children is something that you can learn just straight from a book. And the reason I believe that is from my own personal experience, as well as so many people that come to my program after having read the book. They have their children's love languages wrong. And this is why they're like, oh, well, I know their love language is touch and this is what I do, and, it just doesn't work. It's got to be another problem. And so, I'll obviously take them through all the different layers and we work out every time. I've worked out that in my experience with the thousands of people that have come through my personal program, that about 78% of people who think they know their children's love language have got it wrong. Let me explain to you why. There's what I call an authentic love language, which is the true love language of the child. So love languages are like the language of our soul, okay? It's the way that we communicate, we express, and we receive love from the world and to the world. And we all have our own language in being able to do that. And so without going to this live here is not about what is a love language, okay? I'm going to assume that you've got some kind of idea on what love languages are. If you would like me to do a live on, what is a love language, comment down below and let me know that. Just write down below, would love to know what a love language is exactly, and I'll do that as another topic, okay? But for today, I'm going to go with the assumption that you've got some kind of idea of what love languages are, but here's where it gets tricky, particularly with children, okay, and why so many people have their children's love language wrong. And the reason it's so important to work this out is because if we have our children's love language wrong, then essentially they aren't receiving love. They aren't translating love because we think we are offering it to them the way that we think they receive it. But if we've got that wrong, it means every effort we are making isn't even, doing anything to truly fill up their love bucket, which ultimately means the child ends up with a depleted love bucket, not because you weren't being a conscious parent and trying your best to fill that up and make sure that your love with them translates. But at the end of the day, if you're accidentally speaking a different language, if you're telling them you love them 500 times a day, but you're saying it in Chinese and they only understand English, then, it's like even though you've said it 500 times, they haven't heard you say it once. So let me explain this. We have what we call, kids have what we call an authentic love language, which is the true love language of their soul. And they have what I call an adaptive love language, okay? This is what I have created because of all the parents I've worked with. I realize now over the years, why are so many people got it wrong? Where does it, these parents are amazing parents, like so conscious, so aware of themselves, done so many layers of personal development and work through their stuff. And I'm like, how do so many parents get this wrong? And then I realized this. Kids have what I call an adaptive love language. Here's the thing. Love is a child's highest need. It is the foundation upon which they build every part of themselves. And they need love so badly that if they can't get it the way that they would prefer to have it, the way that they can easily translate it, then they'll take it any way they can get it. So imagine this. Let's say, for example, you have a child whose real love language, whose authentic love language, let's say, is acts of service. And so this child comes to you, with requests for acts of service. And because you don't realize this is their love language, when they come to you and say, Mummy, can you please feed me? Mummy, can you put my shoes on? Daddy, can you get me dressed? Can you carry me? We often accidentally respond with, no, you're a big girl now. You're big enough to do that. And our intention is to build, let's say, an independent child so that they can do some things for themselves. But in these moments, if this is the love language of the child, they're not really asking for you to put their shoes on, or they're not really asking for you to get them dressed. They're using that as an excuse to ask for you to offer them love in a way they can translate it. But if you've missed the cue, what happens is the child ends up with their love need not being met. Now, at a deep subconscious level, here's what the child does. The child goes, okay, I need love like more than anything. And if I can't get it the way that I'm asking for, every time I'm asking for love the way that I really do need it, for whatever reason, those needs aren't being met. And so I need love so badly that if I can't get it the way that I really want it, I'll take it any way I can get it. And then what they do subconsciously, because they're wired this way, they need to be connected to their herd, the mammalian part of our brain. We're a pack animal, and there is a social hierarchy, and we need to be connected for survival reasons, for connection reasons, for growth and development reasons, everything, right? And so what the child does is goes, okay, subconsciously, this isn't intentional, but they work you out. They go, okay, anytime I ask for what I need, you don't meet that need for me. So I'm going to work out what it is you do respond to. And I've worked out that your love language is touch. I've worked out that every time I come to you for a cuddle, every time I sit on your lap, every time I play with your hair or something like that, or I tickle your back or your something like that, or tickle your face for you, you always respond to me. I feel an energy connection. I feel an attention. I get an appreciation. I get noticed. I feel it. It isn't always what you say or what you do. It's what I feel in the shift in your energy towards what I'm offering you. And that's what they start to fill themselves up on. They go, okay, well, I can't get it through asking you to do things for me, but I've worked out that if I come and touch you and sit all over you, you respond to me. So what happens then is this: the child now adapts their love, they adapt their behavior, and I get people come to my program all the time saying, for example, my child's love language is definitely touch, no question. She's always sitting all over me. She's always got to touch me. She's always got to hold my hand, always touching and all over me. Definitely it's touch. And then as I start working with that parent over the next few days, maximum a week, I'm like, it's so easy for me to see. And I tell them, I guarantee you, your child's love language is not touch. If it was touch, they would be responding to this and to this and to this, but they're not. So if doing X, Y, and Z is not filling their bucket, then that's because it's not their language. And I know you've sold yourself out on believing that is their language, but I'm telling you it's not. And then we go through another process where I go, okay, I want you to go and try A, B, C with this child. I want you to go and do A and then come back. So we do Zoom calls on the online program. And this is where I can give people this kind of coaching. And I'll say, I want you to go and do this. And then I'm not going to give you step B until I know how the child responds to step A. So you go and do step A, then you come back to our private little Facebook group we've got. And I want you to let me know tomorrow. We're not going to wait till next week's call. I want to know tomorrow what the child's response was to that. Based on that child's response, I'm then going to give you step B. But I need to know step A before I give you step B. So this is how closely I work with these people. And then over the next few days, a week or so, I start seeing the patterns, and I understand, what is driving the child's behavior. And we end up working out that their love language was something that was off the radar for the parent, because you know why? Sometimes their authentic love language is off the radar. You know why? Because accidentally, no fault of your own, you just didn't know any better. You didn't know what to look out for as a parent. So I'm not trying to make you feel bad here. I'm just being real. The reason that their real love language is like the last thing you would think of sometimes is because when those love needs haven't been met in that way, they actually shut it down. The child, for example, I was one of these children. You ask my mum or anyone that knows me from my life, and they will say I was the most untouchable. I never do cuddles. You know, my mum still to this day, she like begs me to give her a kiss because she's like, you've never been a cuddly child. I've always pushed people away. My mum always says, when you go to kiss me, I always get your cheek. You always turn your head. You never actually give me a kiss and a hug. You know, and this is the thing though, believe it or not, touch is one of my love languages, right? But here's the thing. Now stay with me here, really important. We not only love our children through their love language, we also violate them in that we unlove them just as deeply through their love language. So it works in reverse. For example, let's say if you have a child whose love language is touch, for example. If you're in a moment where, you know, you're about to lose it with that child, you are better to say the most cutting words to that child than you are to grab them aggressively by their wrist and dig your nails in or give them a smack. Because if touch is how they translate love, and you ever use touch as a way to, you know, as a form of discipline or a way to be angry, it literally violates their highest need. The one thing that is the most sacred to them ends up being how they get hurt the deepest. And so I'll give you another example. If you've got a child whose love language is words of affirmation, in that, no, I'm not advocating that you should go smack your children, but if you're about to lose it, you are better to smack that child than you are to say the wrong thing, because they'll get over the smack, but those words you use, they will stay with them forever. They will think about it. If you're a person with love language of words of affirmation, I know you can remember the day your teacher said that one thing, your coach, your parent. You have never forgotten that sentence they said, because it literally injured your soul. Because you can't remember the smacks you got or why you got smacked, but you can remember the words. And for the touch child, you know, it's the other way around, right? That they can't remember the words you've said to them along the way. They can't remember when you were really mean and nasty, but they remember that day you grabbed them, or they remember that day they got a smack. So a love language isn't just how we fill their love bucket, it's how we empty it and we deplete it. And so when this is happening accidentally because you didn't know any better, and you accidentally are, you know, violating your child's highest need through aggressively using their love language against them in some way, they shut down. They literally go into such a protection mode that they no longer even open themselves up to even wanting that love language anymore, because it's too much a risk. They're too vulnerable. If I open myself up to touch and I end up receiving it in a bad way, it literally destroys something inside of me. So it was a safer option for me to just completely block out to even wanting any kind of touch, because even though I couldn't receive love, which kept me in, you know, in my pain and my wounds all my life until I did the work, it also protected me because at least I couldn't be violated very deeply. Does that make sense? So if you are out there and you are not sure what your child's love language is, or you even think you know what it is, I'm saying you've got to go deeper and go, is this an authentic language, or am I just, or is it an adaptive love language? Okay. And there are ways to work that out, but I want to bring it to your attention because sometimes as parents, we don't realize that subconsciously we want to believe that what we're doing is their love language. We don't even want to be open to the fact that we've got it wrong, because we want to feel like we meet our children's needs and that we give them the love that they need. So as soon as we think we've worked it out, we just sit on it there and we go, oh no, I know what it is. And we think we know what it is. And because we think we know what it is, we no longer pay attention to certain patterns in their behaviors and their emotions. And we no longer make the effort to meet their love needs in other ways because we've convinced ourselves of this. What happens is we end up with a child that is depleted of love. When a child is depleted of love, it affects their self-esteem. It affects what they believe about themselves. It affects what they believe about the world. And it affects the way that they build relationships for the rest of their life, including friendships. But it also dramatically changes their level of connection with you and how much they respond to you in discipline. In my online online program, there's a reason we cover the love languages topic first, and then we go into self-esteem and praise, and then we go into conscious discipline. Because if you want your child responding to your discipline, responding to your request, listening before you have to ask 65,000 times for something, if that's what you want from your child, first and foremost, they have to feel loved and safe and connected in their relationship with you. Okay, so if you are out there and you want more information on the online program, just comment down below the words online program, and we will reach out to you. You actually can get a free parenting support call so that we can chat to you about, what's going on in your family, what your challenges are, and to see whether or not it would be a good fit to work together, or what program, there are a couple of options. So what program would suit you best? We're here to be able to offer you that support. The last thing I'm going to mention is I have got a free webinar coming up. It will be announced by next week. There will only be a 48-hour time frame for you to be able to book for the webinar before it actually takes place. Secondly, we are going to prioritize anybody who has been on any of these lives. So the numbers are going to be limited. I'm still working that out, but somewhere between 50 and 100. We've got over 100,000 followers, so that's going to sell out really quickly. So if you would like to be able to secure your spot on that webinar, comment down below the word webinar. As soon as it's ready to be announced, we are going to prioritize by coming back to all of these lives and giving everyone that's been on these lives the link for at least 6 hours before we announce it publicly. So you will get a very small window of opportunity to secure your position in that webinar before it does go out publicly and sell out. It will be free. I'm going to do these once a month, and they're never going to be on the same topic. So if you miss it, you miss it. It'll be 2 years before we come back and do the same topic again, okay? Because there's so many things to get through. So that is it from me today. As I always say, this kind of parenting takes courage. It takes courage to go, oh, maybe I've got it wrong. Let me look at that again. It takes courage to go, shit, what if I've been trying my hardest and my child's behavior is because ultimately they're not feeling loved because I just simply didn't know? All of this takes courage. It takes courage to do the self-inquiry, and it takes courage to step forward and make the changes and to reach out for the help sometimes when we need it. So as you depart from here today, please depart from here with courage. The courage to believe in a better way, the courage to voice what you've got to say, the courage to thrive when times are tough, and above all else, the courage to know you are good enough. Goodbye, everyone. See you tomorrow.